When you're making games, sometimes you're going to find yourself in a situation where you kind of have to make a tough decision. And that decision is usually going to come from a fight between what you want as a developer for your game and what's actually realistic for you to be able to launch your game. And that is a tough decision because it often means that you have to cut big parts of your game because it's the only way that you can actually ship something for players to play. And I have been dealing with that exact situation for the past week, and I want to talk about it here on this channel to really show you what I'm struggling with for my game. Now, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. My name is Darius, and I like to build apps and games, usually inspired by RuneScape, and also talk about them here on this channel. And today we're talking about Alden Idle, which is my idle RPG, also inspired by RuneScape. So here's the problem that I've been dealing with for the past week. And let me just come here and start burning some charcoal because I will be needing this a little bit later. My problem is ultimately with the concept of factions and also the campaigns. These are things that I have talked about previously on this channel, and I was actually very proud about all of the factions and all of this world building stuff that I did and I added to this game. So quick little recap, right? If you don't know, this game is basically RuneScape just without the gameplay. It's an idle game inspired by RuneScape. So you have all of your skills over here, like woodcutting, fire making, which I'm currently doing now. And then you also have all of your combat skills, which you level up by fighting monsters. Factions were there as a way to give some world building and some other things to do and really some purpose to doing all of these other skills that we have in the game. Because what I found was that these skills over here, although they are cool and you can do a bunch of things, you can level them up and do a bunch of things and create all of these items, I really felt like there was no purpose to doing that besides just having the traditional number go up, right? Which might be fine for a game, right? I might be overthinking this, but I subjectively felt that I needed a little bit of a world. I needed something that gives you a reason, a motivation to actually do all of these different things over here. And that's why I created factions, right? Factions are real. They have a place in the actual world, and also they serve a utility purpose in the game as well. They have all of these quests over here, which you can do. And these quests, I figured it out that it would make a lot of sense to have you do things that you would otherwise anyways be doing inside of the app, right? For example, killing some rats. You're anyways going to go and kill some rats, so might as well do them as part of a quest and get some coins and reputation out of it. And then that reputation, if you get enough of it, would actually give you some useful perks that would benefit you as you're doing your other skills. For example, you might unlock, in the case of the Fighters Guild here, you might unlock a different tier of armor that you can wear, which is directly going to be useful as you're fighting all of these difficult and strong monsters over here, like the demons and the dragons, right? So this sounds great, and the idea is definitely there, and I do want to have this in my game. The problem is I haven't been able to figure out all of the little details to actually ship this in a playable format for all of you to play. There's a lot of things that don't quite make sense yet. First of all, I don't really have any perks over here that I want to add that really makes sense for this game at this current point of time. And I've really been struggling to really find some useful perks to add, and not just add perks for the sake of adding perks, but actually add something that is useful, but I simply don't have enough content. You have to keep in mind that I was originally working on a demo, so that was a limited set of features, and here I have too many quests, too much ambition for the amount of content that I can have ready for an actual demo. And I really found myself in these factions over here trying to figure out how can I actually do this. As a result, a lot of the quests over here are repeating. This doesn't work. There's still some errors, but it's totally fine. A lot of the quests here are, again, it doesn't work. It's fine, but this one maybe will work. Yeah, there you go. A lot of the quests are repeating, and it just wasn't something that I felt good shipping. And this is the same exact thing for the campaigns over here, which again is another checklist, and it kind of is meant to act as like this guide to guide you through the game, to give you like a sense of direction, kind of like the achievement diary in old school RuneScape, if you know what that is. So like, you know, a bunch of things that you can do, they're like objective based, and also this would give you some sort of rewards, right? It's the same concept, just in a different skin. All of these things are really cool, and they do have a place in the game at some point, but not right now. At least that's what I figured out over this past week. And this also led me to my biggest realization, which is that I'm actually not looking to ship a demo. A demo is not what I want and is definitely not what I need at this stage in the game. What I wanted for a demo was I basically wanted to figure out all of the features that would eventually be in the game and then just give you a subset of the content within those features. So that meant the factions, the campaigns, the dungeons, all of the skills, all of the non-combat and combat skills and all of that, and just not do all of the content within the skills. But that is proving to be very difficult because, again, I haven't figured out anything else and I actually need some feedback to be able to figure that out. This is something like the factions and the campaigns and stuff like that. I feel that this is something that is best solved not just by me thinking up and coming up with a solution, but actually us as a community playtesting it together and figuring out what makes the most and the best sense for the game as a whole. And so if it's not a demo, then what am I looking to do? Because I still need a playtest, I still want feedback, and I still want to add features, which, by the way, usually if you're shipping a demo, you're not really shipping any new features. It's not expected to update that demo at all. The demo is just a subset of the full game, which again is another reason why it's not what I actually need right now. Instead, what I realized is much more appropriate is more something like a beta. Right? A beta is something that is expected to be in progress, right? It's expected to be buggy, and it's also expected to not have the final content that is going to be there in the full game. The whole point of a beta is to ship something out for you, the players, to actually test, and then iterate, build stuff, fix bugs, add new features, and then work towards either an early access release or a full-on version 1.0 release. And that is what I realized that this game needs. So I'm no longer now working towards a demo, I'm instead working towards a beta, and that means that the factions and the campaigns are gonna be gone and they're not going to be there in these first iterations of the beta because they're not ready yet, right? This is something that is going to come later once we first test out how does the game feel without a faction, without a campaign. Does it feel enough? Does it feel like it's lacking something, right? Instead of just adding something just for the sake of adding things, even if they might be cool, even if they might actually work in the game, I would still rather get this in the hands of players early, get some feedback, and then make the decisions together instead of just me alone. And this is game dev, right? That's part of it, right? You have ideas in your head, you want to do all of these cool things, but then you're hit with the reality and you realize that maybe for the sake of the game, for the success of the game, maybe it's best to cut some things out, right? To lighten the load, the burden, right? The scope of the game, and actually ship something that you can ship instead of spending days, weeks, or months trying to work and figure something out when it's not the right time or even ever for the game, for that feature. And I'm so happy and so relieved about this because this was causing me so much stress. I was really stressing to figure out all of these factions and campaigns and like, what are they going to look like? How are they going to work? Just so I can ship the demo. The whole demo was like hanging on these two features, which I wasn't able to figure out. But cutting them out released so much pressure from me, and I'm not able to actually focus on what matters, get this shipped as a playtest earlier, and actually have something for you guys so you can actually play, and then use that feedback to actually make this a better game and eventually reevaluate the factions and the campaigns and see, do they make sense? And if so, how should they actually be integrated in this game? I'm very happy to have come to this conclusion, but it took making a hard decision to actually get here. So if you're a game dev, if you're working on a game, do not be afraid to cut out some scope and be very careful of scope creep because it literally is and can kill your game. And if you can get over that, if you can get rid of some of the scope, you actually might be able to ship something, which ultimately is the entire goal. We want to make games and we want to release those games to have players play those games that we built with so much care and so much passion. So I will now keep working on Alden. There's still a little bit of things that need to be fixed before I can actually ship this in a playtest, but expect a playtest very, very soon. I'm super excited to get this in your hands so we can once again play it, get some feedback, and make this into an actual game that is going to be ready for release. With that being said, thank you so much for watching the video. My name has been Darius Causen, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.